What up, people? I'm WoodChipDust, and I am back with more secrets to share about the OG Tekken tag. Wind God Fist is the signature move of the Mishimas in Tekken. It's been in every Tekken game in some shape or form, and across most of the games it's almost identical. Regular Wind God Fist is a high launcher that's minus 10 on block, but when you do the just frame electric Wind God Fist by inputting down, forward, and 2 on the same frame, the first frame of the crouch dash, you get a launcher that's plus 5 on block, with some extra sparks, faster recovery, and more pushback. And it being a high, despite it having a beefy hitbox, means it can be high crushed. What about in Tekken Tag? As it turns out, Wind God Fists are more varied and complex in this game than in any other in the franchise. And for years there was, or is really, very little documentation on how they work. To this day, you can find guides on GameFAQs stating there's a 3-frame window for Jin's electric, which is just not true. And if you care enough to dig through Tekken Zaibatsu's old frame data, good luck finding it, by the way, you'll find incomplete or incorrect frame data for every Wind God Fist entry. So, I'm here to set the record straight, hopefully once and for all. I'm talking frame data, hitboxes, tag buffering, tech catching, unique interactions, all of it. This is Tekken Tag Tech. Let's talk the Wind God Fist. There are 5 characters who can do the move in Tekken Tag: Kazuya, Devil and his clone Angel, Heihachi, and Jin. We can kinda group the first 3 characters together, as they have simpler and almost identical Wind God Fist mechanics, and they don't have access to the just frame electric version that Jin and Heihachi do. They do, however, have access to a 13-frame perfect Wind God Fist, and even though Devil and Angel don't have Kazuya's misstep, all 3 of them can perform a perfect Wind God Fist with either the no down or the no neutral input method that people still use in modern Tekken. The real distinguishing factor of Wind God Fist in this game is that it's not a high for all but one character. It's a special mid. That means it can be blocked standing or crouching, and it won't whiff over crouching opponents. Since there's no crush system in tag, it largely functions the same as if it were a high, at least when it comes to whiff punishing. But reversals don't work on special mids, so Wind God Fist is an irreversible launcher for these characters. But surely Wind God Fist is punishable on block, right? Well, sorta. One of the quirks of Tekken Tag is that Wind God Fist has variable frame data depending on whether it's blocked standing or crouching. Take the Wind God Fist of these 3 characters, for example. Wind God Fist is minus 10 on a standing block, with some pushback, meaning most characters can get some kind of punish, but if it's blocked at tip range or off axis, the punish becomes inconsistent. But again, this is all for standing block. When Wind God Fist is crouch blocked, it's only minus 9. And it has enough pushback so that even the bears, with their massive 8-frame jabs, can almost never reach it. The frame data only gets more complicated when you factor in tag buffering. After all, this is a tag game, and every Wind God Fist lets you input the tag button during the startup animation to bring your partner in for a red life juggle, if the Wind God Fist hits. For Kazuya, Devil, and Angel, tag buffering doesn't change any of the move's other properties, but that's not the case for Heihachi or Jin. Like Kazuya, Heihachi's Wind God Fist is a special mid that's minus 10 on standing block. On crouch block, it's actually 0 with a bunch of pushback, but if he tag buffers it, the pushback is decreased and it becomes minus 9 on block. Unlike Kazuya, Heihachi can also do an electric Wind God Fist. Like all other electrics in the series, it's plus 5 on standing block, and oddly minus 6 on crouching block. On paper, it's a very powerful move. Plus on block special mid launcher with better tracking and faster whiff recovery than a regular Wind God Fist. But the input requirements for Heihachi's electric are a little bit strange. In addition to the just frame down forward 2, the initial forward input must be between 1 and 3 frames of a forward walk. Any more than that, and even the just frame input will yield a normal Wind God Fist. And it has to be a walk too, meaning he can't electric out of a dash or a wave dash unless he adds an extra forward input at the end of it at point blank to trigger a walk. All of which makes his electric much more awkward to use in the neutral. And if you try to tag buffer electric, you get a regular tag Wind God Fist instead. Makes me wonder how many of these restrictions were intentionally added to keep Heihachi players from spamming the move. Now, if you saw my last video, you'll know that Wind God Fist can also be used as a tech catch, meaning it cannot be blocked during a tech roll if it's done correctly. There are a lot of ways to set up tech catches in tag, but for Wind God Fist specifically, there's only one frame of the tech roll animation where it works. Unfortunately for Kazuya and his 2 winged pals, their variant of Wind God Fist can only tech catch the big boys. That's the Jacks, the Bears, and True Ogre. Heihachi's normal Wind God Fist can't be used for tech catching at all, but his electric can tech catch every character in the game, still in that same 1-frame window. It's normally pretty impractical to use his electric for tech catching, given the input restrictions on it, but as it turns out, as long as he does the just frame down forward 2 input, even if it's out of a dash, the tech catch will still work. The just frame input seems to retain electric's expanded hitbox, just without the added sparks and plus frames. Until now, I haven't mentioned a certain Mishima, because his Wind Godfist is the strangest one of them all. I'm referring, of course, to the poster boy for competitive Tekken Tag, Jin. Normally, his Wind Godfist is a high, so it's reversible. It's 1 frame slower than the other Wind Godfists, it recovers just a bit faster on whiff, and it's completely safe at -7 on block. But tag buffering his Wind Godfist changes the move into a special mid. Jin's tag Wind Godfist is -8 on a standing block, meaning some characters with 8-frame jabs can punish it, but it's only -7 when crouch blocked. And while his regular Wind Godfist won't launch on counter hit or at certain weird angles, the tag buffer fixes both those issues. That said, the tag buffer does create some weird hitbox changes. The move's tracking actually gets slightly worse. It whiffs on certain characters' idle poses, and get this, it whiffs over Ogre when he's crouching. Only Ogre. Weird. Of course, Jin also has a high electric that works the same as any modern electric, no weird input restrictions like Heihachi's, and he has a special mid tag buffered electric. And unlike the tag Wind Godfist, tag electric creates no issues with the move's hitbox or tracking. The frame data is oddly a little worse at -9 on standing block and -8 on crouching block. Still, it's better than Kazuya's Wind Godfist in almost every way, and it's Jin's only Wind Godfist variation that works in the 1-frame tech catch window. When it comes to tracking, a Wind Godfist can usually be stepped in either direction at point-blank range, but the more space there is between the characters, the better it gets at hitting a sidestep right, making sidestep left the preferred counterplay, same as in modern Tekken. Electrics do track much better than normal Wind Godfists though, and they pretty much always have to be stepped left, no matter what range you're at. Another quirk with Jin's Wind Godfist being a high is the auto-crouch situation it can sometimes create. If the opponent initiates a sidestep during the startup animation of a high attack in Tekken Tag, the game will often force them into crouch for at least a frame before starting the sidestep, and Jin's Wind Godfist is no exception to this. This auto-crouch essentially slows down the opponent and sorta gives Jin's Wind Godfist, and especially his electric, better tracking than all the others. This is especially the case for upward sidesteps, which always trigger auto-crouch during high attacks. My guess is that the game treats the upward input as the initial frames of a jump squat, whereas downward sidesteps seem to have a frame of leniency before auto-crouch starts to occur. Now, I'm almost certain that a lot of these odd move properties I've discussed were not intended. The game had a 2-month development window, after all. And I think most people can agree it's a good thing that Wind Godfists were simplified and nerfed in later games to make them a little easier to deal with. But at the same time, there's a certain charm to idiosyncrasies like these in a fighting game. They hark back to a time when the gameplay experience was not so exhaustively streamlined and perfectly intentional, and there were more opportunities for player expression. Ultimately, Wind Godfists in Tag aren't all that different from what they've always been. They're fast launchers that are fantastic for whiff punishment and keep out. But they're also emblematic of the many hidden interactions and intersecting system mechanics that, to me, make Tekken Tag such a deep and interesting game. I really hope y'all enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or you want me to cover anything else, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.